Well, in Formula One, we're constantly measuring everything. I mean, we literally live by the stopwatch. We're measuring right down to the millisecond. And we measure because that gives us the information we need about how we're performing, and we can apply that across actually every area of our operations. So one of the things which has been really beneficial because of the digital transformation which has taken place in our industry over the last 35 years is that we've become immersed in data which enables us to measure every system, every process, every piece of technology which we're deploying. And that means that, we have literally no guesswork left. We are now on a journey of knowledge rather than a journey of hope, because we've measured all of the things that really matter. So this has had an extraordinary impact on several facets of Formula One. So if you think about, for example, safety. So driver safety has been transformed out of all recognition. Between 1950 and 1994, we had 45 fatalities in 45 years. In the last 28 years, we've had one further unfortunate occurrence. So why did that change happen? Because we started measuring everything and managing our risk far, far better than we ever did before. If you take another metric, which would be reliability. Reliability is the technology which we deploy. Extraordinarily, for 50 years, between 1950 and 2000, the average reliability of products in our industry didn't change. 45% of the time, cars suffered technical failures. The engines blew up, or the gearbox failed, or the hydraulic system developed a leak, or whatever. So those metrics just didn't change for 50 years until we got to the point where we could measure each and every system, each and every sub-assembly, each and every technology within the vehicle. And suddenly we began to unlock far improved quality to every facet of our engineering. The result of that means that a world champion such as Lewis Hamilton can realistically expect to drive for a whole season in Formula One now without suffering a single major reliability problem. I'm pretty sure that both Lewis and Michael Schumacher at various points during their careers have gone 4 full seasons of Formula One without suffering a major technical failure on their car. That's been possible because we measure the things that matter to them as an internal customer, and that enables us to then drive the improvements and the performance, which today is now, of course, taken for granted, but which is in fact a huge step from where we were not so long ago.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how many organisations struggle with measurement. Tons of data sometimes too much data, not enough insight coming out of that, and therefore they're not really measuring the right things. Sometimes they measure lots and lots of things, but they're never things they would make a decision about. So it almost becomes, well, that's interesting, but unless you're going to make a decision based on that piece of data and that measurement, why are we looking at it, right? And it's interesting. I've helped lots of organisations do that shift to thinking about what really matters to the customer, measure what matters to the customer. Sometimes we do lots of internal measurement and everything looks green. The website's up and the response times in store are good, and the call time handling on the phones is good. But so it's all green. It's like watermelon reporting. It's green on the outside, but actually, when I look at the customer experience, which is someone trying to do an omni-channel purchase and then return of something, it's just completely red. I mean, I've bought it in this channel. I want to take it back to this channel. Oh no, you can't do that, madam. I'm afraid you've got to take it to a different place. And so, really helping organisations measure what matters to the customer is really key. And I think that's what you brought out there, which is make sure you get your measurements, which are the real key ones you want to chase, because only then will you be able to make improvements against them. We sometimes die under sort of too many measurements, I think, in organisations. And sometimes we've also helped organisations use balancing metrics. So how can you? So every measurement can be improved, right? But sometimes they're done in isolation, And of course we go like, right, let's move that dial. And so we turn the handle and it moves the dial, but of course it's somewhere else there's another dial that's sort of going the opposite way because we've completely overdone it. So for example, we've helped teams in thinking about predictability versus responsiveness, and of course you can become really predictable at the expense of responsiveness, or the other way around, right? So start measuring both and try and get them both going in an upward trend, and at some point you'll get to the point where we're having to make a trade-off between one and the other, and you're probably starting to get towards an optimized point. But if you just measure one, or you don't care about the other so much, you end up in being in a different place.
I mean, you mentioned big data, Adrian, and there's no question in Formula One that we could say we're swamped with data. We gather vast amounts of data, but actually our data analytics tools are so sophisticated that we can very quickly establish that most of the data is not that interesting. Everything's going pretty well. So we focus on the anomalies, we focus on the opportunities, and this is where, for example, predictive analytics in Formula One has played such a key role in helping us to focus on the things that do matter, because our data scientists are able to give us deep insight. And so that, exactly to your point, we're measuring because we want insight, and that insight enables us to improve the quality and speed of decision making, to drive outcomes that actually do something meaningful, and actually do something meaningful that is also measurable. So, this for me has been a really interesting transformation within our industry, where we've gone from a little bit of head scratching and gut instinct and making decisions based on personal experience to looking at the hard data of what we're measuring, and using these sophisticated modeling and analytics tools drive to the heart of the insights that really enable us in leadership roles to make meaningful, important and value-added decisions.
It's a lot for organisations to learn from that. I believe some parts of Formula One are starting to operationalise that sort of data analytics capability and sell it to organisations. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, McLaren Applied Technologies have been providing data analytics capability into a wide number of industries, pharmaceuticals, transportation, and so on. And it's because organisations are coming to Formula One and saying, well, actually, you seem to measure a lot and yet be able to focus on the few things that are really going to make a difference, prioritising what we need to focus on. And that's exactly what we do. Again, going back to some of the points you made earlier on, in this world of complexity, we're trying to simplify what we focus our priorities on, and that's where we ultimately see the performance difference really made.
For more information, please visit sullivanstanley.com/future business formula.